Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 35 of the Golden Question podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be answering the question: what socialists don't understand about the current economic outlook. Now, I've just finished watching a video that Peter Schiff had uploaded. He debates two socialists. They're called on. He doesn't really do like a formal debate, but they're called on RT, which is pretty much the only news network that's very well known and popular that still invites Peter Schiff on. Fox Business does occasionally, but RT far more often. And a lot of the times, um, RT also calls in a bunch of others. The thing about RT, what I like about them is that they're very even sided, in my opinion, in terms of their reporting. So they have Peter Schiff on, but they also have Richard Wolff on a lot, and he's a well known socialist. And they also, in this particular video that I watched, they also had economist Steve Keen. Now, I wasn't familiar with him, but from watching this video, he does seem to have and he's a socialist as well, but he did seem to have a very great understanding on certain statistics, certain data. I mean, even on the show, he did have some sort of spreadsheet in front of him looking at certain historical data. So I do like that aspect, right? You have facts in front of you, you have data, you're not just conjecturing. You do have stuff to back you up. Although I don't agree with his conclusions, a lot of what he brought up, I agreed with. I mean, because it's all statistics, right? You can't really agree or disagree with statistics because it's not an opinion. So this video is very interesting. Now, Peter Schiff did talk, or did, I guess you can say, debate Richard Wolff on a separate occasion before this, and it was sort of the same thing, and I'll tell you what that is right now. Whenever Schiff is asked about the current state of the economy, right? What is I mean, in this case, it was the debt ceiling, but it's always the general outlook of the US economy. Um, Schiff says very poorly about the US economy. He says the US economy is very poor. We're not financially sound. We're not stable. We have a bunch of these problems, and he lists unemployment, the way the unemployment is measured, inflation, the rise in the cost of living, general productiveness, the lack of productiveness in the US economy, income inequality, the lack of new businesses emerging, um, the the increase of the size of the corporate state, or the corporate world, whatever you want to look at it. So more corporations getting bigger. When Peter says all these things, Wolf agrees with him, right? These are things that Wolf also says um, are major problems in the US. And of course, the only thing that differs is the solution and the root cause of the problem, right? That's why, the saying is, in order to solve a problem, you need to identify it from the root cause. You need to find out what's actually causing the problem, because only then can you fix the problem. You can't, if you just try to just fix the problem, you're only fixing it on its surface level. The problem will just reemerge later on. You want to fix it from the root cause. And this is really what's happening right now with a lot of true capitalists, right? I'm not talking about Republicans or anybody, anybody on the Trump train, or a lot of uh, you know, right-leaning government officials and CEOs and all these people that supposedly claim they're capitalists, but in fact they're not, because any capitalist should tell you that the US economy right now is screwed, right? Any supposed capitalist who says we're doing great right now, or we did great under Trump, is not a true capitalist. They're just, really, they're just a Republican. But something that capitalists and socialists have in common, as is seen in this debate, is that we both realize there are problems in the economy. And this is really frustrating when I see uh, Women AOC and many other Congress members who come out and say all these bad things about the U.S. economy, and then all of a sudden the right comes and attacks. No, we're doing great. Ben Shapiro, Stephen Crowder. This is where I just fundamentally they are capitalist in that they believe in capitalist policies, but they're sort of in this contradiction where when Trump is president, all of a sudden things are going great. They ignore all their principles, and you know all of a sudden the US is great. But you can't be a capitalist and say that the US is great without realizing certain contradictions in the fundamentals that you believe in and the current state of the economy. And as I was saying before, with AOC coming out and saying, unemployment is high because everybody is getting low paid jobs and everybody made fun of her, uh, you know, her execution in what she was trying to say was poor. But what she was essentially saying is that the only reason unemployment is low is because you have a bunch of people in part-time jobs that is skewing unemployment low. I think I worded that incorrectly before, but yeah, everybody's making fun of her. That makes no sense, right? Unemployment being low, that's great. It has nothing to do with people working low wage jobs or not. But a lot of people came and attacked her, and this is really where it showed, are you a true capitalist? Because true capitalists would agree with her statement. Now, they will definitely agree with her solution, disagree with her solution, because her solution is just going to inevitably make the problem worse. And this is the point that ultimately ends what Peter Schiff ends with in a bunch of his debates, because the debate is just, we have all these problems. Yeah, I know we have all these problems, because a lot of socialists believe that capitalists right now think that we are living under capitalism. This, whatever we have today, is a product of capitalism, and we are currently in a capitalist structured economy, which is of course not the case. And true capitalists actually correctly point out the problems that we have today, which are problems that are justified when socialists bring them up, because obviously socialists are not happy with the system we have today. Because of course, if we did live under a true capitalist society, it is a successful society. It is a society that pleases everybody, and so you wouldn't have socialists. Any arguments that socialists would make would only say, "Hey, we could be better," but there wouldn't really be any problems. But of course, right now we don't have a capitalist state. We have a mixed economy, which is capitalism mixed with socialism, right? Large government intervention in the U.S. economy, micromanaged economy in terms of the Federal Reserve and the central bank. So what we have now is not capitalism, and so there are going to be problems, of course, right? Mixing in the government creates problems, and of course, what socialists fail to understand is that it's the government aspect of the mixed economy that is the problem, right? They believe that Socialists believe that capitalism is the problem of the mixed economy, right? If you think of the mixed economy, half government, half capitalism, they believe that if we can just make everything government, then things will be better. So I think, in terms of, if I'm going to give uh, any of our listeners a message, that is, if you're a true capitalist and you debate a socialist, the first thing you need to understand is you have to sort of create some equal grounds by saying all your concerns that you have with the world today, in this case in terms of the economy, are justified. I agree. The wealth gap is an issue. I agree. People are, or less productive. I agree. People are not making enough. I agree. Our standard of living is going down. I agree. The cost of living is going up. I agree. People are loaded up on debt. I agree. Corporations are getting bigger. I agree. Finding work is a lot harder, and the work you do find pays you very little, and it requires a lot of work. All these problems are real. The only thing we disagree on really is A, the root cause of the problem, and B, the solution. And this is something that socialists find fascinating, is that, wait a second, a capitalist actually says we have problems with our society today, because in their mind they think we are in a capitalist society. And so they always come into the debate expecting you to disagree with their ideas of the wealth gap, and inflation, unemployment, all these problems with our economy. And in this case with Wolf, this is his second time facing Peter Schiff on RT, and he's still somewhat amazed, right? Because he goes on, and there's really nothing to argue with him about. The question was about the debt ceiling. Should we raise it? Wolf says, we shouldn't raise it because um, it's just more debt, more money. But Schiff says the same thing, and so they both in this awkward moment they both agree, and so Wolf is like, but you, and then this is where it goes into, you're not a capitalist, and they all tell Peter Schiff what a capitalist should be, what his opinion should be on the economy today, and I believe the guy was, yeah, Steve. He also said, you're a capitalist would actually enjoy raising the debt ceiling. Capitalists should enjoy more debt, right? They both said this, and Peter Schiff said, no, that's not what a capitalist wants. Debt is not good for capitalism, and so they end up sort of arguing on what it means to be a capitalist, right? Peter Schiff is saying he's a capitalist, and he does not believe in debt. He thinks that debt is destructive in an economy, and especially government taking on debt is destructive. And then you have the socialists saying, wait, we agree with that too. We also agree that debt is bad, but we think that capitalists love debt, and that they are they they want to promulgate debt. And so this is really where the debate ends up going in most cases, and in this case, both times with Peter Schiff and um, Wolf, it always evolves into, wait a second, we agree that can't be right. No, you have to be wrong in terms of what you think an ideal capitalist society should look like. And so this is the problem that socialists have at the end of the day, is that they don't understand what a true ideal capitalist society looks like, and they have the false uh, impression that we live in a capitalist society today. And there was this point where Peter Schiff was saying debt is the problem. Wolf came back and told him, yeah, Peter Schiff said it's because of these low interest rates that we are into this debt bubble, right? This the problem about the debt. It's because of these artificially low interest rates. Wolf comes in and says, wait a second. Uh, let's look at the root cause. The interest rates were set, you know, during the onset of the dot-com bubble. That's when they were lowered, and that's what caused this debt problem that we have today. And Peter Schiff said, yeah, that's precisely my point. It's these low interest rates that have caused these the problems that we have today. And Wolf was sort of confused because he thought Peter Schiff would come defending the actions of the Fed, and in this case he didn't. Right? They both agreed that the Fed lowering interest rates was a problem, and so it's very funny to see, because I've seen Wolf debate other people. I forgot who, but he was on this famous debate in Soho. If you guys just search up um, uh, Richard Wolf Soho, some Soho forum, it should pop up. And uh, I wish I saw it live, but I didn't. But on that debate, right, it's a typical capitalist socialist debate where they talk about private business and all this, and the business structure and the role of government, which is typical. But it's so funny seeing Peter Schiff, which I would consider a true capitalist, because he really wants a free market economy, not some of the, as I said, some of the people who proclaim that they're capitalists but are somehow satisfied with the system we have today. And in contradiction, they're perfectly fine when a Republican is in power in the White House. And they vote for all these government programs, and some of them even defend some government programs. They even defend some limited government intervention into the economy. So those aren't capitalists, right? It's astonishing seeing Peter Schiff, a true capitalist, debate a socialist, and they both agree on so many different things, right? The only thing that they disagree on is the root cause of the problem, which I believe Peter Schiff accurately portrays and describes the root cause of the problem, and the solution. Because once you identify the root cause of the problem, finding the solution is easy, because you just do whatever doesn't cause the root cause of the problem, right? You just do whatever reverse. So in this case, we have a bad economy. We can both agree, right? Capitalists, true capitalists, and socialists both agree that our economy is bad. And then now you have to find out, why is it bad? Socialists believe lack of government. We believe lack of the free market, too much government. And of course, once you figure that out, then you could come up with a solution. All right, since uh, in the socialist case, lack of government, we have a bad economy. Okay, solution must be more government. From a and really the problem with that argument, with the socialist argument, we had a lack of government, we're in a bad economy, therefore we need more government. It fails the falsifiability test. You can't falsify that claim, because then if you implemented more government, one could always say, oh, well, we didn't have enough government. And so we need to implement even more government. And so whenever you have a bad economic um, scenario, the solution is always, all right, we need more government. We need more government. There's no way to falsify that claim. There's no way to test if more government actually made the economy bad, because you could always say we need even more government. And that's really the problem. That's why it just spirals out of control. That's why whenever a crisis comes, government tries to step in and says, all right, we didn't have these measures in before. Now let's implement these measures. And then another crisis comes. All right, we didn't have these measures before. The measures before were insufficient. We need to implement even more measures. And this is why government just progressively gets bigger and bigger if there's no constraints. Versus a capitalist, from a capitalist perspective, it makes sense. You had government that implemented measures. The economy's still bad. Let's revert those measures, because obviously we look at causality. So this is my sort of input on debating a socialist. I know I've made another episode on how to debate a socialist, but that sort of took a different lens. That sort of looked at more on the philosophy. But this is more on how to establish equal grounds and really how to shock your socialist uh, opponent in a debate. And that is, we both agree the economy's bad right now. So whenever they bring up statistics on the wealth gap, on just overall happiness, right? When they bring up all these statistics, agree with them. The facts are laid down. It's we all agree on the facts. We are in a poor economy and people are suffering. And I just watched Ben Shapiro go on a debate with Anna Kasparian, and then Cenk Uygur. He made this reaction video, and he's talking to about Ben Shapiro, and he says, "Oh, they're all for this corporate class, this corporate this corporate's economy, and whenever he mentions Ben Shapiro's argument, he always says that it's to promulgate our corporate structure right now, which, again, if he understood what a true capitalist meant, true capitalists aren't for corporations. We aren't for these large, you know, nationalized, not nationalized, but national in terms of their scope and size and global corporations, because these wouldn't form in a free market economy. They only form with government intervention, where certain laws, rules, and regulations that actually aid their growth and destroy competition come in. So, you know, these large corporations, these global mega corporations that we see today aren't normal, um, and wouldn't occur in a free market economy. And so a lot of people point towards these mega corporations as the result of capitalism. No, it's the result of the mixed economy, and the government intervention uh, aspect of the mixed economy is the problem. And with Cenk Uygur again, he just believes that capitalists love the system we have today. True capitalists, of course, love the system we have today, and we can make it better. But of course, the system we have today, if you really do understand I mean, anybody could look at the statistics. Anybody recognizes that our economy is doing poorly, that we're not actually recovering. We've never recovered, and we are never recovering. It's hard finding a job. The productivity is just not there. We're not producing things anymore. I mean, as I mentioned this before, I go to the city. It's really upsetting seeing all these old lofts, which were actual industrial spaces in the past, with machinery and just hundreds and hundreds of thousands of workers in these buildings working, producing things. and now they're all just turned into luxury apartment buildings for the rich. That this is really things that everybody sees, and this is why socialism, in my opinion, is starting to pick up speed because socialists right now are correctly identifying the problems we have today. A lot of capitalists trying to debate socialists, they say, "Oh, that's normal. That's just part of capitalism. Whatever. We need less government. This and that." And of course, there are some that try to say, our current economic system is not doing great. But whenever we have a Republican in president, all of a sudden they need to pretend like things are great when in fact things haven't changed at all. And in fact, they're just progressively getting worse. So that's really something that I'd like to see in the capitalist movement is some real honesty. Whenever you have a Republican president who's not governing in a conservative manner in terms of the economy, right? Lower government, limited government, uh, not only lower taxes, but lower government spending, which is, I would argue, first. Before you lower taxes, you need lower government spending. And a lot of Republican presidents just jump to the lowering the taxes, which of course makes the problem worse because now you have all this government spending that now needs to get funded. And how do we end up funding it? By printing a bunch of money from the Federal Reserve, going deeper into debt, which is ultimately worse, right? The Going into debt is much worse than just paying your taxes, of course, because of interest and the prolonged negative effects. But that's pretty much it. I would like to see more honesty um, in capitalists when assessing the economy, the current state of the economy, and when debating a socialist. For those who are debating, you should create some common ground where you both understand that our economy right now is poor. So let's just skip over that. We both agree that the economy is poor. And you'll find out that the debate goes a lot easier because then you could actually go to the solution rather than just arguing over the current state of things. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.